September 21st, 2024, Cambridge, Ontario. 1 p.m. on a busy Saturday afternoon. Families shopping, children playing. Then, in broad daylight, 4 members of the Hells Angels stormed through a public parking lot. Their targets were rival bikers wearing the colors of the Loners Motorcycle Club. Within minutes, vests were ripped off bodies. 17 firearms were later recovered. This wasn't just another biker altercation. It was a violent territorial statement, the latest chapter in a conflict decades in the making that had once again erupted on Ontario streets in 2024. The question isn't whether this war will escalate. It's how many more people will get caught in the crossfire. To understand why this happened, we have to go back to when these two gangs first collided, and to a bloody history Ontario thought it had left behind. The Loners Motorcycle Club was founded in 1979 in Woodbridge, Ontario, by Frank Lenti and Jaro Rosso. It quickly became the third largest outlaw motorcycle gang in the province. The Loners demanded American-made bikes and built chapters across Canada, then expanded to Europe and the United States. By the late 1980s, they controlled major drug territories in Ontario. They were independent, powerful, and answered to no one. But the Hells Angels had other plans. The world's most infamous biker gang officially entered Ontario on December 29, 2000. On that day, 179 bikers from multiple Ontario clubs joined the Hells Angels in a mass patchover ceremony in Sorel, Quebec. The Angels absorbed Satan's Choice, Paradise Riders, Last Chance, and even some Outlaws members. Overnight, the Hells Angels became the dominant biker force in Ontario. But there was one gang they couldn't absorb: the Loners. During the 1990s, relations between the two clubs were civil. Hells Angels from Quebec often visited the Loners. In June 1993, Hells Angels National President Walter Stadnick hosted a massive party in Wasaga Beach, attended by nearly every major Ontario biker club. Frank Lenti and the Loners were guests of honor. Stadnick made his pitch: join the Hells Angels and reap the rewards. Lenti refused. However, the two sides struck a business deal. The Loners would buy their narcotics from the Angels for years. The arrangement worked until the Angels decided they wanted full control. In 1999, the Hells Angels targeted the Loners' London chapter, John Coates, a massive 6 feet 7 inches angel from the Sherbrooke chapter, used his brother Jimmy Coates, a loner, to infiltrate the group. Through family connections, John secretly sold drugs to London loners, bypassing their president, Wayne Celestine. Celestine was fiercely independent and ruthless. When he learned of the secret meetings, he stripped the traitors of their colors. The ultimate biker insult: the one defector was pistol-whipped and robbed for betraying the club. The Hells Angels don't forgive defiance. October 22, 1999. Iona Station, Ontario. Wayne Celestine stopped at a red light. Suddenly, a car pulled up. Inside were 2 Hells Angels associates, David Malech and Philippe Gastonguay. A shotgun emerged from the window, blasting into Celestine's truck. He survived, but the message was clear: submit or die. The attackers were arrested, and several Hells Angels members, including the Coates brothers, were charged with conspiracy to commit murder. They eventually pleaded guilty to lesser charges and served prison time. When they got out, they ran the Hells Angels' new London chapter. The Angels had taken what they wanted. In April 2001, the Hells Angels gave the Loners an ultimatum: remove Ontario from their patches or face consequences. The Angels claimed the Loners were only a regional club and not worthy of representing the province. Many Loners surrendered. Some joined the Angels. Others, led by Celestine, joined the Bandidos, the Hells Angels' sworn enemies. Ontario erupted in violence. From 1999 to 2002, Tattoo shops, strip clubs, and massage parlors were burned to the ground. Shootings and beatings were weekly events. On January 11th, 2002, 2 people linked to the Hells Angels were shot. That same day, a massage parlor in St. Thomas burned down. Police launched massive crackdowns. The Angels ultimately prevailed, absorbing most rival gangs and taking control of the cocaine trade. By 2007, raids had seized hundreds of liters of GHB, kilos of cocaine, dozens of firearms, and explosives. The Hells Angels appeared untouchable. Despite the Hells Angels' dominance, the loners never disappeared. They rebuilt independently, expanding to 17 chapters in Canada, 11 in Italy, and 11 in the United States. Their independence remained a constant irritation to the Hells Angels. July 8, 2023, Cornwall, Ontario. Around 8:20 p.m., members of the Loners and Outlaws fought violently in a parking lot. 2 people were stabbed and 1 was shot. 5 were arrested. Less than 2 days later, the Outlaws' clubhouse in Brockville burned to the ground. Police suspected arson. Families nearby were forced from their homes. The Ontario Provincial Police issued a warning: do not approach outlaw bikers or wear gang-related clothing. You could become a target. Inspector Scott Wade, head of the Biker Enforcement Unit, warned that support and puppet clubs had fueled a rapid expansion of biker activity across the province. July 4, 2024, Hamilton, Ontario. 4 Hells Angels members and 1 Red Devils member, the Red Devils being their main support club, assaulted and robbed a man inside a local establishment. On August 21st, police raided both the Hells Angels and Red Devils clubhouses in Hamilton. Then, on September 21st, 2024, the battle erupted again, this time in Cambridge, in broad daylight. What began decades ago as a rivalry over drugs, respect, and control has once again turned Ontario into a battleground. And as history has shown, in the world of outlaw motorcycle clubs, peace never lasts for long. Police seized 4 shotguns, 3 rifles, ammunition, and body armor. 5 men, aged between 34 and 51, were arrested and charged with assault, causing bodily harm and robbery. But the Hamilton incident was only the beginning. September 21st, 2024, Cambridge, Ontario. 1 p.m. in broad daylight, in downtown Cambridge, surrounded by families and children, Hells Angels members confronted the Loners Motorcycle Club. What happened next was shocking even by outlaw biker standards. The Hells Angels and their Red Devils allies stripped the Loners of their vests, their patches, their identity, their territory. In biker culture, stealing a rival's colors is the ultimate act of domination and disrespect. This wasn't a secret ambush in a dark alley. It was a public attack in the middle of the day. Detective Inspector Scott Wade of the Ontario Provincial Police called it shocking. 2 rival gangs meeting in a public place, surrounded by families and carrying out a violent robbery. The investigation moved quickly. On October 17th, Ontario Provincial Police and Waterloo Regional Police executed raids in Cambridge and Kitchener. A week later, on October 24th, additional searches were carried out in Seaforth and Whitby. The results were staggering. Police seized 17 firearms, 9 magazines, ammunition, a prohibited weapon known as a get-back whip, a weighted leather whip often used in biker assaults, 3 Hells Angels vests, multiple cell phones, unknown pills, and stolen property. 5 men were charged, 4 alleged Hells Angels members, and 1 Red Devils member. Among them was 34-year-old Bradley McLaughlin of Seaforth, charged with robbery and disguise with intent. Others included a 39-year-old from Kitchener, a 38-year-old from Cambridge, a 36-year-old from Whitby, and a 29-year-old from Northumberland County, who remains at large with an active warrant. The charges included robbery, possession of property obtained by crime, theft, unauthorized possession of weapons, and disguise with intent. 4 suspects were arrested and released pending trial. 1 remains wanted by police. Sources later confirmed the victims were members of the Loners Motorcycle Club. Court documents revealed that the complainant's Facebook profile featured photos of the Loners logo, a half-werewolf, half-skull figure, and that the stolen property included motorcycle vests bearing the Loners patches. Inspector Wade explained the symbolism. Bikers wear their patches publicly to claim territory and intimidate rivals, a concept known as the power of the patch. By stealing those patches, the Hells Angels sent a message to every loner in Ontario. We own this province. Your colors mean nothing here. This was not random violence. It was calculated territorial enforcement. Through their Red Devils support club, the Hells Angels were reminding the loners that Ontario belongs to them. The loners, who have remained independent for 45 years, represent the last major holdout against the Hells Angels' dominance in the province. The 2024 incidents mirror the same tactics used during the original Ontario Biker War from 1999 to 2002. Public intimidation, daytime violence, and humiliating robberies. The Hells Angels appear to be following the same playbook that helped them conquer Ontario 2 decades ago. But the loners are not the same club they were in 1999. They are now an international organization with chapters across Canada, the United States, and Europe. They have survived assassination attempts, clubhouse burnings, and mass defections. Some chapters have aligned with the outlaws. Others remain independent, and their European chapters maintain ties with several other groups. In Ontario, they've quietly rebuilt their presence in cities like Cambridge, Cornwall, and Brockville. Ontario's illegal drug trade is worth hundreds of millions of dollars annually. Controlling key ports in cities like Hamilton and Windsor means controlling the flow of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl throughout North America. Strip clubs, tattoo parlors, massage parlors, and car dealerships serve as money laundering fronts. Extortion and intimidation provide further income. For the Hells Angels, total control means total profit. The Ontario Provincial Police Biker Enforcement Unit has warned that outlaw motorcycle gang membership is growing across the province, from Thunder Bay to Ottawa and from Ottawa to Windsor. Detective Inspector Wade noted that support clubs have expanded rapidly, supplying manpower and new recruits for major gangs like the Hells Angels. The question now facing Ontario is whether 2024 marks the beginning of another biker war. The July incident in Hamilton proved that Hells Angels and Red Devils members are willing to carry out violent crimes together. The September robbery in Cambridge showed they're willing to act in broad daylight, in public, without fear of witnesses. And the seizure of 17 firearms demonstrates that they are heavily armed and ready for escalation. Police have increased patrols in known biker territories, and the Biker Enforcement Unit has mobilized across multiple jurisdictions. Residents in Cambridge, Hamilton, Cornwall, and Brockville have been urged to report suspicious activity immediately. The message from authorities is clear. This conflict is real, active, and could explode at any moment. The loners now face an existential crisis. They can submit to the Hells Angels and lose their identity and independence. They can align with rival gangs like the Outlaws or Bandidos, risking a multi-front war. Or they can stand alone, defending their colors against the most powerful outlaw motorcycle organization in the world. History has shown that standing alone against the Hells Angels rarely ends well. The Rock Machine tried it in Quebec during the 1990s. That war killed 162 people, including civilians. The Bandidos tried it in Ontario in the 2000s. That ended with the Shedden massacre, where 8 members were executed. The outlaws have survived only by staying quiet and avoiding open confrontation. But the loners are different. They've endured 4 decades by refusing to bow to anyone they've survived, assassination attempts, internal splits, and the loss of multiple chapters. Their international connections give them resources and backing that purely Canadian gangs lack. Some experts believe the loners may be the only Ontario club truly capable of resisting Hells Angels expansion. The September 2024 robbery in Cambridge was more than just a crime. It was a declaration the Hells Angels are reclaiming Ontario one patch at a time. The loners are the last major independent club standing in their way. What happens next will determine whether Ontario enters another decade of peace or descends once again into biker war. 17 firearms seized, 5 men charged, 1 club standing alone against an empire. The streets of Ontario are about to find out whether independence is worth the cost. The conflict that began 25 years ago never truly ended. It merely went quiet. Now, in 2024, it's loud again, and this time the entire province is watching.